I just finished reading 580 pages of Crossroads by Jonathan Franzen. Why should you read this book? I would call it another title, Men's and Women's Search for Meaning. So it's a family of a pastor. He's dealing with his crossroads. It's 1971. It's Christmas, and then the second part is Easter. And the way this talented novelist, said to be the greatest living American novelist, weaves this bold plot is very, very intelligent. So it starts with the pastor. Then there's the children, each one dealing with their problems. The oldest is Clem. He's in college, but he wants to drop out to join the army. It's Vietnam War. And he's dealing with his first sexual relationship in college and love. And disconnecting from Becky. Becky is his very, very much beloved sister. She's very popular. She has a lot of choices. She's dealing with first love and also finding God in her life and how to cleanse her life. Then there's Perry, who is the most intelligent, but he's dealing with substance abuse and later mental illness, severe mental illness. And there's Judson, the sweet little boy who only brings joy and love. Marion, the mother, has a lot of troubled traumas. She's dealing with a lot of secrets. She's seeing a psychiatrist, and she's looking for God again. And it's always, the relationship with God is always a very, it's not a clear road. It's all over the place. And it's very interesting how each one finds meaning in their life and how they come together again after being apart. And it deals with a lot of issues, mental illness, substance abuse, love, sexuality, marriage, ethics. God, of course, is all around there, and the church. And Jews, no, thank you for portraying the father of Marion, the mother, as a bipolar, mentally ill Jew who committed suicide. And but Jesus is in there all over the place. And of course the New Testament. And there's the prodigal son who's searching and coming back to seek his father's blessings. If you know that story from the New Testament. So, as a Jewish person, not happy with how he portrayed Jews. So now I'm reading from the very end. Clem's suppressed, and Clem's the son, he's come back from South America, and he sees his sister, and she says, "So will you have dinner with us?" They were estranged. "Tonight? No, tomorrow Easter. I'm inviting you." No, she's not going to her parents because she wants to avoid her mentally ill brother. His heart leaped at the invitation. It couldn't help itself, but it had leaped into a trap. He'd been away for so long, it would be cruel to leave his parents alone on Easter, and Becky knew it. "I don't know," he said. She looked away with an expression of not caring. All he'd asked for was a chance with her, and she was offering him that chance. Whether she genuinely wanted him in her life or was simply testing his loyalties, he couldn't yet tell. But it was clear that in his absence, far from having diminished herself, as he supposed, she'd become a dominating force. She had the grandchild, she had the absolute loyal husband, and she had her charisma and her popularity, and she needed nothing from him or their parents. The terms were hers to set. "Let me think about it," he said, although he already knew what he would do. So, as I said, this is a very deep novel. I would call it Man's Search for Meaning, and it starts in December 23, 1971, Christmas Eve, and ends in Easter, a few years later actually, sorry to say. There's so many places this novel takes you, but most of them are inner places. I'm not happy about the way Jews are portrayed. Although I know a lot of bipolar Jews, including my own sister, but it deals with the relationship between siblings and how each one is looking for God in their own way. And all roads lead to Rome, huh? And it even goes to Europe. It goes all over the place. Yes, I spoiled it maybe by reading the very end, but it's still a voyage worth taking. Read this book, ask questions. I'm thinking of writing him a letter about why the Jews are portrayed as such a, in a terrible light. After all, the Jews gave the world Jesus. Why is the only Jew is no? There's a very quick. There's a quick scene with the rabbi at Christmas when he explains Judaism in a nutshell. But the fact that the mother's father was a bipolar Jew who committed suicide, it doesn't give much hope to Judaism. And Judaism did bring you Christianity. I was married to a Protestant, and then I realized Christianity has evolved in such a different path than Judaism, for good and for bad. And Judaism also has evolved. And it's a book about evolving. It's a book about how we come together and come apart and come together again. So it's like an embroidery. It's very rich embroidery, and it takes me back to the 70s, and it's all about America. I've come to meet America, as the song says. It's a voyage, and I recommend it. It takes place in Chicago, in a suburban town in Chicago, and it's the Midwest. The Midwest is a very important place in America. I happen to have lived there, St. Louis, and maybe that formed who I am as well, because I realized that in a family people are so different, and each member of the family has their own path, and we have to respect each other's path. And this is what the conclusion, I think, is. Clem, the oldest, makes this conclusion. We can't tell people how to be. We have to let them be who they are and let them evolve in their own way. And this is what also the pastor comes to realize. We each are on our own path, and it's so interesting how in a family, siblings each are completely different, and each person becomes their own person and is on the voyage. So the Midwest is a very important place in America. It's called the Gateway to the West in the Civil War, which is still taking place in America. The South and the North. This was the meeting place. It's a great place of America, and the agriculture, the culture. The writer of Tom Sawyer, Mark Twain. I visited his home when I was a pupil in school. He lived there. Has many insights into human beings in America. If you want to know the real America, you go to the Midwest. You don't go to New York. You don't go to Florida. And not a lot of Jews left there, though. I should add, my father's job was to bring Jewish people to Israel, to help them come to Israel and explain about Israel. It's so sad that we, in a stage in 2025 where we're so misunderstood. Judaism, Israel, America, very misunderstood. I wish I had the talent of this writer to write my own novel about my path of life, but you don't have to lived in Chicago or St. Louis or in America to appreciate this voyage, because it's like the Greek tragedy or German novels or Russian novels or any really good novel or poem or art piece touches upon humanity, all of the things we have in common. So you don't have to be American to appreciate it, but you learn to appreciate America from reading it. It could have taken place in Greece or in Germany or in any other place where people are honest enough to search for their way of life. In America, what really makes America unique is the people. I think they're an example to the world of seeking, and that's why they're a nation that clings to religion, and not every religion is spiritual, and yet this search is bravely been taken by Americans. You will not find this in a European novel. This willingness to open your life and examine it, and to ask, what is the meaning of life? What is God's role in my life? And to know that being a person of faith doesn't mean you reach a point and it stops. It's a constant battle. It's a constant process. And being with other people, relationships are also constant ebb and flow. You have the constant ups and downs of life. And maybe the bipolar boy and the bipolar grandfather are actually the very image of what life is not about. It's not black and white. It's not up and down. Life goes through up and down, but it's a constant flow. And you're always searching. So please read this book. It's wonderful. But I'm going to write him about the Jewish, how the Jews are portrayed. And don't hate us so much. We've given America a lot of amazing American Jewish novelists, and I'm sure he's read them too. And Christianity wouldn't be there without Judaism. So, L'chaim, read this book. And remember, Jesus was a Jew, even though Christianity has evolved in a completely different path in a way than Judaism. And if I can say one thing, I see that when you're a rabbi, you take on a lot of rules. And in Christianity, because you don't have that many rules, there's more place for people to get lost. And maybe it's good because they can get lost and found again. In Judaism, there's a whole set of rules that keeps the Jew in line when he's religious. So that's my thought, at least, that's good to have rules in your life. It's good to have boundaries, because getting lost is not fun. But on the other hand, if you don't get lost, how are you going to ever evolve into being a deeper, more authentic person? A lot of questions. And that's something Jews are good at. And also the very famous Rilke, German poet, said, love the questions. And this offers a lot more questions. It's a great book to read with other people and ask questions and listen to other people's point of view. And I love this book. It's part of a trilogy. It's the first one, so there's going to be 2 more novels. It was published in 2021 and we still haven't heard of the rest. I don't know what's happening to the other parts, but it's a voyage. And so, well, worth your time to read this book.